Hey everybody, what's up? We're back. It's those wrestling girls. It's your girl Krista B.
Queen P.R.
And today we are talking about it's a spotlight episode on Becky's title run from Raw to WrestleMania to when she just gave it up this past Monday on Raw, and how we are, I don't know about P, but I know I am devastated. No, P's devastated as well. But I feel like
I
her
wouldn't
favorite.
say devastated.
Right. So it's like P's
I
hurt. But her favorite horsewoman is definitely Charlotte, like we all know. But mine is Becky. Yes, WrestleMania 35. If you can see, I'm rocking it. Becky, I'm with you. So this is our spotlight episode on Becky Lynch's title run, because she had a hell of a year. Like, she had a hell of a year. And people always asking, how do you feel about Becky, having to give up her title because she got pregnant? Girl, becoming a mother, I'm not a mother, I'm an aunt. And Patricia's an aunt as well. But it's like having those kids in your possession, even for a little while, is the most beautiful thing you can ever do, like ever have. So I'm not pressed about Becky becoming my mom. Like, she's gonna be the best mom ever. And
totally
that's
agree. I totally agree. So she, like you said, on Raw, she didn't really drop the belt. We found out that the Money in the Bank briefcase for the women's match actually didn't hold a contract. It held the Raw Championship belt.
She had to relinquish it.
Yeah, so basically, whoever won Money in the Bank was the next Raw Women's Champion, and luckily, Asuka won. So Becky is gonna be gone for a while. So she really made history in this Raw title run. Like, she had momentum even before WrestleMania, but ever since she became Becky Two Belts at WrestleMania, like, she took it to a whole nother level. So this is a special spotlight / bonus episode on Becky's Raw title run. So of course we have to start with the fact that she made a lot of history at WrestleMania 35, besides main eventing, but she also walked out as Becky Two Belts. So she was Raw and SmackDown champion for a minute.
Yeah, maybe I should have put on my Becky Two Belt shirt, because I have that one too.
Like, she definitely was holding that down as well.
Yeah, she was holding that down. And throughout her course of being Becky Two Belts, or even like being the longest reigning women's Raw champion, she's also been the first woman to ever cover a WWE game game. So her and Roman Reigns covered WWE 2K20. I believe she was like also the first woman to be on a box of cereal. I believe she's in a box of Wheaties or something like that. Like, Becky has made history. So when people say, oh my God, how can she go and get pregnant and throw away like $1 million or whatever the case may be, like that, it's just like Becky has accomplished everything she could possibly accomplish during this time span. Like, what else do we need her to accomplish to prove herself? Like, she made history. Her story. She made her story.
She like, really has.
What else do we expect from her? But like, her being a mom is a reprieve. Like, I know it hurts her. I know she wants to, continue to do more, but we all at this point wanted the belt to be off of Becky.
Yeah.
We didn't expect it to be in this way for her being a mom, but.
And then the thing too is, like, being a mom is not the end of her
career. Is not.
Great. And we're in the middle of a quarantine, so what better time to kind of take a break as champion? And like you said, a lot of people were saying she was getting stale. Myself, I was over her being Raw champion. I did not think, and I remember, and I want to go back to her journey up to now and her pregnancy announcement. Everyone was saying, oh, she's gonna hold the belt till next WrestleMania, and I was like, no, she's like, it just didn't seem fathomable that she would hold the belt for over a year. And she really did. And so right after she made history of the main event, she's the man, she's like on fire. Her first feud after WrestleMania, which was confusing to me, was Lacey Evans. Now, She made history at WrestleMania. Everyone's looking forward to like be that next feud. So of course she's still dabbling a little bit with Charlotte for SmackDown Championship, but for Raw, it's Lacey Evans. Like, how did you feel about that whole feud at first?
Well, at that time, everybody know, and I think I said in previous episodes that I wasn't a really big fan of Lacey Evans at that time because it was like, oh, you're nasty, this and da da da. So I'm just like, Becky at this point, for her, to me, for her, she was like given that put over status, like put somebody over because you already made legendary status.
Yeah.
And it was great to put Lacey Evans over, but at the same time, it was just like, why Lacey Evans? Like, why nobody else can she put over? Mm-hmm. Why does it have to be her? Another blonde hair, blue-eyed, female, tall. And then it was just like, her and Charlotte was pinned together. So it was just like them two always versus Becky. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, don't nobody want to see that. Mm-hmm. But I can see why it happened. Like, for me, I feel like even though Becky was put in that Stone Cold category as being a man and being rebellious against the boss, like, it's like Becky and Stephanie was like the Stone Cold and Austin of our time. Mm-hmm. So for her to be put in that category, I feel like she was put in that Undertaker category. Well, Undertaker's that legend is always going to put everybody over. He put Roman Reigns over, Brock Lesnar over, even though Brock Lesnar didn't need to be put over anymore. Mm-hmm. Becky is in that category.
I totally. So,
and for her to put Lacey, I was like next, like who's next? Like who's better? Like no, we need somebody else. And but now looking back in hindsight, I feel like it was the right choice to make.
Yeah, and I think like it was clear that they wanted Lacey Evans to be the next big thing, because before that, she was just walking. Remember, she was like interrupting matches and just walking up and down the ramp, even during WrestleMania, which was crazy. And so this was her first kind of like main roster feud with Becky. And like you said, like they put Lacey right at the top of the mountain for a title run, fresh off of the WrestleMania champion. Like that's pretty big. That's when I knew like, okay, clearly they want Lacey Evans to be something, but she was still really, really, really green in the ring. And that was my only thing. Cause I liked Lacey's character. Like me and my dad would call her the fashion plate. Like I liked the sassiness. Like I didn't have any, I was just like, oh, okay, like let's see where this is going. Cause it was a creative way to introduce a woman on the main roster. But then she was like horrible in the ring. And I don't want to say horrible. I want to say she didn't have the timing right. Like, yeah, like she didn't have those, and it's not like, not everyone's going to be natural in the ring, like a Becky or, but her timing was off and her matches were awkward. And it was just like, okay, like this needs to like totally end. And then they had like a long-ish feud, like after WrestleMania, I think. So they had a they had a Money in a Bank match where Becky had both of her belts on the line. So she had to face Lacey first for her Raw belt. And then
Charlotte right after.
And then Charlotte right after, of course, because they always trying to set the man up. And then Lacey interferes and she loses her SmackDown to Charlotte. And then Bayley cashes in on Charlotte. But that's a whole nother story. How did you feel?
That's when Bayley was my bitch. I was fucking with Bayley.
So, how did you feel when Becky became Becky One Belt again? Like, I know, like, her stands on Twitter were devastated when she dropped both belts. I was never for Becky Two Belts, as you know, but for other reasons, but I was really happy for her. How did you feel when she dropped the SmackDown belt to Charlotte again?
Well, I was for Becky Two Belts. Doug, I have the shirt. Maybe I'll do a wardrobe change throughout here. I don't know. But, no, I had the shirt. I was definitely for Becky Two Belts, but I was even more happier when, like she lost. No. I wasn't happy when she lost. I was happy the fact that Bayley will always come out and like help her. Like it was like, all right, two were banding together. So when Bayley won, Beck was there when Bayley won or whatever. I was so happy for that. But just like, all right, we got two protagonists against this antagonist. Sasha is nowhere to be found. I was like really, really happy at the fact that Becky can honestly share this moment with a friend. and Bailey. You
Yeah.
know, Charlotte portrayed to be her best friend, you know, PCB rescuing her and stuff or whatever, to her having to fight her on multiple occasions. So I was more so happy that Bailey was the one who came, was just like, you know what? I'm gonna take this for you. Like, I know you can't get it back, but I'm gonna cash in and win on your behalf. Yeah. Now Bailey has her own run. She had an almost a year run too.
She really did. So, I think because Bailey had a championship, a historic run, we could do a spotlight on that championship run too.
Definitely, like it's needed. Like, I think, even though I'm not liking where Bailey's character is going now, because I feel like they're always putting Sasha and Bailey together, and we all know Sasha's gonna turn. We just don't know when. Yeah, like, she's been showing signs of her turning, so we all know it's gonna happen. But I'm just like, let Bailey try to stand on her own throughout her run, because it's just like, it's not fair to fans, because it's always, once you see Sasha, you see Bailey. Like, to me, could have easily won her match against Bailey if it wasn't for Sasha.
Yeah,
it's like Bailey doesn't have a backbone, but Becky always had a backbone. Like, Becky was always standing on her own. Even when Charlotte came to like rescue her or whatever, Becky stood on her own.
She did not need that.
Not at all.
So speaking of her Becky's Lacey Evans run going long, it blended into Seth. So they announced that they were a couple, I think not long after WrestleMania.
After WrestleMania.
And then, of course, WWE instantly put them together and have a feud where Seth was in a feud with Baron Corbin, and so they had mixed tag matches at I think it was Extreme Rules, but I think at Stomping Grounds, Lacey was like the special referee for Baron Corbin and Seth's match, and Becky comes to save Seth, and then that's when this whole the man's man thing started, and then the shirt came out. What were your thoughts? And we actually did an episode. We were inspired by that whole dynamic. Last year, we actually did an episode called Wrestling Power Couples and using real life relationships and storylines and stuff like that. So looking back in hindsight, like you said, how did you feel about Becky and Seth working together as champions?
I'm always here for like couples working together if it's in a positive way. Yeah. Because, you know, I'm all for long-term relationships. I relate to them very, very well. And if I can be like, oh, I'm standing by my man, of course. Like, I'm going to stand by my man, my dude. But I was so here for Becky and Seth. You know, Stomping Grounds, I'm just like, yo. Like, I knew Becky was going to come out. They made it obvious. Yes. But the fact that they didn't build to it, and Becky just hit, and it was just like, all right, well, Seth is not going to hit Lacey. Yeah. So you already knew, like, somebody's about to get crazy with her. And you already knew that it was going to be Becky. Mm-hmm. And then when Extreme Rules came about, and then, like, Baron Corbin hit her with a deep six?
Or End of Days.
End of Days. Hit her with an End of Days, and you saw Seth's face. To this day, I can rewatch it, and my heart was still dry. Like, oh, yeah, y'all. And I tweeted, I was like, oh, y'all done pissed Seth off now. Y'all done pissed Seth off now. Oh, yeah. And then they started going at it with the kendo sticks with each other. Yo, I'm here for, like, I feel like that's like the Notebook of wrestling. Like, if y'all ever seen the movie The Notebook and how they were, like, meant and destined to be with each other, Seth and Becky's storyline, their relationship from WrestleMania 35 all the way up until now is literally the Notebook of WWE.
It's super cute, and it's funny because I don't mind it either. Like, I love, like, when Naomi was with the Usos. Like, I think that's dope. Right. With this case, it just felt so forced because,
really? You felt it was forced?
Yeah, the whole storyline, because they put Lacey and Baron Corbin together for like no real reason, and it was one of those things where WWE was like, "Oh yeah, a couple, okay, boom, let's do this," and it was just like, okay, and it to me it felt forced. I said it in the episode that we did, like it felt forced. There were definitely interview segments that were very awkward. Like I don't know, it just I personally like. I didn't enjoy them on screen during like their interview segments, but then at the same time, you know, like as someone that, you know, had a best friend that I was in a relationship with, and just like imagine how fun it is to be at the top of y'all industry at the same time. Y'all are both world champions and y'all get to stand at the top of the ramp and hold your hands together. You know, that had to be an amazing moment in time that they were able to share together, because it's not like, you know, they would normally all the time be like, oh, Becky and stuff together. Like, oh, like that, I feel like that was really cool. Like looking back, we can say like, you know, they can look back and be like, look, like, we worked together, and they were both like at the top of their game, like 100% at the time.
I feel like the live segments you that you mentioned just now, yes, they were kind of awkward. They were kind of forced. Like when they were both champions, it was just like, well, you made me lose my title, and he was like, I would never make you lose your title, and like, am I this? And she was like,
it is
like I'm like, bro, like that was not good. Like, what are you doing? That was not good. But in the ring is when you show the most emotion at. And I feel like in the ring was the most genuine.
It was so good.
An unconditional thing that you can ever show for someone. Like, because I know for a fact, 100%, if my dude was to see that I'm down, like somebody was to press me or put their hands on me or whatever, oh, he's going to end up in handcuffs for defending me. And that's how I am with him. Like, we're very protective of each other. Like, he can never sit here and be like, oh, yo, this girl is antagonizing me or whatever. I'm like, oh, really? What girl? Where's she at? Wrap it up my hair real quick. Where's she at?
Yo, and Seth and Becky are like ride or die for each other. Like
ride or die. Like, I just read an article in People magazine where Becky was talking about how when she saw Seth and they like their relationship and stuff started to grow, she automatically knew that he was the one she wanted to have kids with.
Aww.
Like even way before like they got together, you know, it's like you can look at somebody, and I believe you can attest to this. Like you know, it's like that's it. Like you already know there was.
You don't got it.
She already knew he was the one. And that's it. And like hands down, like even when they showed Becky's 24, and they went back before WrestleMania 35, and they showed Seth in the audience crying because it was a Charlotte, Becky, and Sasha in the main event, and he knew how hard she worked. Even though he said he was crying for all of them, we know you're crying for Becky. Like we know you're crying for Becky.
Yeah.
Like, don't lie to us, Seth. We know you're crying for Becky.
We know.
Right. So it was just like to see that happy not a happily ever after, because Becky will be back. Becky need to buy some change off. She won't be back.
Oh,
her baby doing December. So my friend pointed out her baby's doing December. So Becky was wrestling in 35 pregnant and probably didn't know.
Oh yeah, probably.
She was wrestling. What was before Mania?
The Elimination Chamber. No, that's after.
Did she fight? Well, no, Rumble. Did she fight Rumble?
Yeah.
She fought Rumble. Didn't know she was pregnant. And whatever was in February. I can't think of what was in February now.
Elimination Chamber.
So she fought pregnant. Yeah. Didn't know.
Probably.
If she's due in December, from the end of February to May is when the part she was fighting and she didn't know she was pregnant. So Rumble's out. Rumble she wasn't pregnant. End of February, beginning of March until on.
Wow.
Right.
So
after a story like Paige, her baby gonna have a story like Paige, wrestling it.
Cute.
Right.
That's gonna be really cute. So after her feud with Lacey and with Seth and everything, it's SummerSlam season, and she gets into it with Natalya, which I look at your face, which I appreciated because one, I'm a huge fan of Natalya, and I know Becky and Natalya's history, so I'm like, they've wrestled together like across the world, and Becky's at the top of her game, and like you said, they want to use Becky at this time to, you know, elevate other stars, and I felt like this is the perfect time for Natalya. And then SummerSlam is in Canada, and then they have the submission thing, so of course they did a submission versus submission match for SummerSlam. So, and then it was one of those things where it wasn't like, you know, they didn't make up a storyline. It was like, no, we want to see who's the best. Like, it's the best versus the best, and we're going to see whose submission is the best. And it was a respect thing. And I really love that Natalya had that moment. I didn't expect her to like win the championship, but I like that Natalya had that moment, especially in Canada with everything she had gone through. So how did you feel about that whole feud and match and everything?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I felt like that feud between Natalya and Becky, I'm not sure how I felt about it. Then, like I said, they're both great wrestlers. I never take anything from Natalya. She's just not my favorite. Like, she doesn't stick out to me as much as Becky or Charlotte or Sasha. Huh?
That feud wasn't like memorable for you.
Right. That's what I'm just like, when you said, I'm like, wait, they had a feud? Sorry.
And I think
it doesn't stick out to me as much, but I should know because Becky does, but I should remember, like, it should be memorable. But it doesn't. But I did appreciate the submission versus submission match. Mm-hmm. I would have thought that Charlotte would have been in that against Natalya, but I don't think Charlotte had a title at the time. So it made no sense to put her in that.
Yeah, and I forgot who Bayley was feuding with at the time, but
I think it was Charlotte.
It was Becky versus
Sasha came the day after SummerSlam.
Yeah, so that was her SummerSlam feud, and then let's get into it because that was next. Then literally the day after SummerSlam, Sasha Banks returns. And this is like a moment I would never forget because I was missing Sasha so much. And I know we're all going to get to that point with Becky, but the thing is different. With Sasha, we had no idea when she was coming back. We had no explanation on what was going on. What we know is that we haven't seen her since WrestleMania and all the rumors and shit online. With Becky, we know the deal. Like, she's pregnant, she's having a baby. You know, we could kind of not time it, but it's like, okay, let's not expect her for another year. With Sasha, it was like you just watch every week and just hope she comes or hope there's some sort of like every pay-per-view people think that's when she'll return. So Natalya is making a speech and she's talking about her match with Becky and how thinking about her father, and Sasha Banks music hits and Sasha acts like she's, you know, all sad, and then she attacks Natalya, and then Becky comes out. And I love this because I love Sasha, and I was like, I love that Sasha comes back and she's feuding with the top person. Like, she came back, they instantly put her with the top person with Becky. Like, they didn't even hesitate. I loved it. So they feuded for actually 2 pay-per-views, Clash of Champions and Hell in a Cell. How did you feel about all of that?
I loved it because I remember exactly where I was when Sasha came back. I was doing laundry. And I was watching it on my phone because I'm like, I didn't want to go upstairs and my clothes get stuck in the laundry. And you texted me. You was like, hold on. And I'm like, Pete, oh my God, Sasha came back. You was just like, yo, I feel like I was dumbfounded for a minute. Yo, I think everybody had a standstill brain fart when Sasha music hit. I'm just like, this ain't real. Sasha not here. And then she saw, you know, how I can relate to Natalya thinking about her dad because, you know, I lost my dad a few years ago. So it was just like, oh, man, Natalya's about to make me cry. I can't take this. Like, no. And, you know, and then, of course, I was cutting her ass. The Brooklyn name was Sasha. Because I'm like, sis, that wig, what you doing? What's going here? And I texted her, I'm like, the wig ain't it. Like, and then pulled it off and the blue came on. I was like, oh. Yeah. Okay. I feel like that TikTok and I'm like, well, damn. Okay. Like, what beauty mojo. Okay. And then Becky came out to rescue Natalia and to Sasha, which I very much appreciate. Sasha, for the record, Becky is my favorite horsewoman. If you was to ever ask me who's my favorite horsewoman, Becky Lynch is my favorite horse, and I will stand by her.
All collectively my favorite.
That's cute. No, but Becky is legit my favorite just because of her story, like underdog. Like she was considered an underdog before Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
Like Bailey had more clout than Becky, but Becky literally clawed her way. She became Becky 2-0. She had the blood. She broke her nose. All that. But I appreciate it. And then Becky's and Sasha Hell in the Cell match.
Classic. That's like one of my favorite.
Mine too. Like I don't even know whose is better, Becky and Sasha or Sasha and Charlotte.
Yeah,
because they all gave each other the best that they got. Like I don't even know who better. I don't. And for it to be Becky's first time in Hell in a Cell and Sasha like completely took her out in the first couple of minutes, and they was trying to figure out if Becky can continue, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And Becky pulled the Mick Foley and was just like, nah, I'm going back. Like, I'm going to finish and I'm not going to quit. I'm just like, yo, like.
I liked Becky and Sasha's better for some reason. I like
even though Charlotte almost killed Sasha when she like kicked her out of the fucking. I'm like, oh, damn, like bitch ain't got no back and ready. You gonna kick her out? Like what's going on?
And then I think with Becky and Sasha, they just got so creative with the spots and stuff. Cause like we've seen so many Hell in a Cell matches and like we've seen everything that could be done, but they got real creative with the chair when they propped up the chair with the kendo stick, and then Becky jumped off the side and like did a drop kick, and like there was so many the submissions through the chairs, like it was so many creative things that they did. And then Sasha, she's like, the best to do it, and
Sasha takes it. Like Sasha really takes like we have to give Sasha her flowers while she's here because the amount of I saw this vignette or like this compilation of the amount of moves and amount of bumps and stuff Sasha takes, and I believe I mentioned it in another episode before. Sasha is it when it comes to taking bumps, like almost breaking her neck, her back, like her body parts, like literally. Sasha is it. Like we gotta give her flowers while she's here because I don't want nobody talking about oh my god when she's gone. Yeah, I'm saying Sasha, and I think I can speak for P. We're giving you your flowers while you were here, sis. Like you continue to do it.
Yo, I wanted more of that feud. I wanted them to have a trilogy of pay-per-view matches, but then they did the brand split, and then SmackDown went to Fox. So one cool thing that's so random, and I feel like I will only notice this, is that the last SmackDown on USA closed with Sasha attacking Becky, which I thought was great. Like Becky's doing this interview and Becky like comes like out of nowhere and attacks Becky on like this fence. And that was the last.
You said Becky comes and attacks Becky. She can't attack us.
Sasha comes and attacks Becky. Sorry. And that's how it ends. That's how the last SmackDown on USA ends, with them two. And then Becky opens the first SmackDown on Fox, which I just thought was so dope. And then she has a segment with The Rock. And this is when or one of more of those moments where that Becky is it. She was the star of the blue carpet. Like she was rocking that tuxedo. Like she has arrived. Like this is like Becky has all the star power and everything. Like she's had segments now with The Rock, Stone Cold, Edge. Like basically every legend has kind of like put her over. And then she goes into this kind of like half tag team with Charlotte during this time, and then they feud a lot with the Four Horsewomen, so we get like a lot of tag team matches, which is dope because we got one at that SmackDown, and we saw one.
We was there at the SmackDown. I recorded it, and they didn't wait. Like they literally went at it. Like I zoomed in. I want to see if I can find that video. I zoomed in, and I was just like, oh, Becky And Charlotte, I am here for fucking up Sasha and Bayley.
Yes. Oh my God. It was so good. I never thought I would be able to see 4 Horsewomen tag team match in person. And then they did it a couple times. I was like, yes, like this is everything.
I'm so here for it. And I think the week before, once we realized that we were going to our very first SmackDown, because every wrestling event in Brooklyn was all Raw. And then, you know, we went to SummerSlam and stuff like that. But
SmackDown, like we went to the SmackDown after Mania, SmackDown after SummerSlam.
Well, yeah. You're right. But this SmackDown was like the first one that wasn't after a pay-per-view. So it was just like we were texting each other so much. Like I didn't think we would talk about wrestling so much, like besides our podcast and what we're going to talk about and stuff. The excitement through our text messages from that time, it's like, oh my God, I can't wait. Oh my God, da 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 da. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like literally our messages were like OMG, OMG, OMG. Like a few laugh out loud and OMG, OMG, OMG. But then when we got there, I felt like, I don't know about you, but I know I felt like it was about to be me. Like my music is about to, and I'm about to come out. Like I felt this nervousness, like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe like this is about to happen. I believe I teared up a bit too while I was there watching it, because I know I'm always here for 4 Horsewomen versus 4 Horsewomen, but I'm always here for like the 4 Horsewomen of WWE and then the 4 Horsewomen of UFC, like going at it. Becky's about to be a mom, so that's gonna have to be put on hold, but I'm not mad at it, because once her snapback comes in, oh yeah, get ready for that 4 Horsewomen.
I hope in the meantime they build up the other 2 random ones, because like they don't equal up to any of the 4 Horsewomen.
But they're not even. Are they even still on NXT anymore?
That's the problem. That's why I don't think 4 Horsewomen is ever really gonna work, because the other 2, it's like they don't measure up. All 4 of them.
They gotta work on it.
Like I can't even tell you their names. I'll always be like, oh, Shayna's little friends or something.
Well, one of them is married to, I believe, Roderick Strong.
Yeah.
Velveteen hat on his pants. And I believe her name is like Maria.
Yes, Maria, yeah. They're cute.
I want to say Maria or Marianne. It's been something with an M.
Yes, I think it's Maria. But I'm glad you brought up the fake 4 Horsewomen, because her next kind of feud.
I say fake because Shayna Baszler did tweet us a while ago, and I don't need her putting you in no type of hold, because I'm gonna have to go Brooklyn on that ass.
I mean, right? They can be the 4 Horsewomen of UFC all they want. I'm all for that. But they're not the 4 Horsewomen of WWE. Like,
agreed.
So, I mean, I love Shayna Baszler. Like, I became a fan of her. And so Becky's kind of next feud is with Shayna. It's like Survivor Series season, which is exciting. We love Survivor Series season. But this is Survivor Series
pay-per-view, you guys.
Is lit because NXT is involved. So now you have 3 shows where, you know, they do the infamous invasion, all the brands do their invasion. So now you have the opportunity for Raw, SmackDown, and NXT to invade each other, which happened, which was dope. So Shayna was actually the first NXT superstar to invade on the main roster.
And I have to shout out, I'm sorry, Bianca Belair, she put people on notice during that Survivor Series invasion.
She
threw Dana Brooke over them crates.
And Carmella, she beat the bricks off of them.
And everybody kept asking, what is Carmella doing? So the actual video of what she did to Carmella came out. Yes, sis, sit there and hold your head.
She knocked that ass out. But I think Survivor Series, the one that we're talking about in 2019, was all about NXT, like making NXT look like dope, and I think they succeeded.
And shout out to the men's match, because you know always got to shout out the men in this. I'm sorry, but Roman Reigns and Keith Lee, that battle before, you know, Roman Reigns eliminated Keith Lee, and even after they showed that showmanship, that was dope, because nobody expected that.
Yeah, that was there was a lot of good moments like that for NXT during all of that time. And then it led to that main event for Survivor Series that I was super excited for. Bayley, SmackDown champion, versus Becky, Raw champion, versus Shayna, NXT champion. And it didn't do it for me.
Me neither. I
don't know. And then what sucks too is that the Survivor Series elimination match before that I enjoyed it. Like, I was like, okay, this is good. Now I'm ready for this triple threat. I would never put these three together. I'm here for it. But, Bayley's a heel now, so let's see what this is going to be about. And it just, I don't know what it was. Like, I don't know if they didn't have enough, the three of them didn't have enough chemistry. Like, it just was like, womp womp for me.
I believe the build for it wasn't as great. Like the previous Survivor Series build, when everybody was like psyching each other out, and when Stephanie got involved and Shane got involved, like this year we didn't have that, and it wasn't as great. Like all we had was Triple H and Shawn Michaels to build, and like this is NXT whatever, but we didn't have that other stuff that build or whatever. So it wasn't. So when it came down to the main event, it was just like, bro, I feel like I'm watching something on a mid card or like a house show.
Yeah.
Pre-show, like it didn't do for me. Like, I don't even remember who a winner was out that match.
Yeah,
for me in my head it was a qualification.
It was Becky. I don't know. It was Becky, of course.
Okay, well, see, that's why I'm like, that's how much it did not do it for me.
And it's one of those. Yeah. And I love rewatching certain women's matches like back again in the future. Like, I'll watch a match and be like, oh, I can't wait to rewatch this like in the future. But I have yet to rewatch that Survivor Series match. Like, at no point during that match I was like, oh, I can't wait to watch that. Like, I'm like, I might rewatch it again just so, like, in hindsight, I can be maybe a few months from now where I could be like, oh, it wasn't as bad as I thought.
You can appreciate it more, but right now, nah.
Yeah, like sometimes when you watch pay-per-views too, like it's in the moment, you have your opinion in the moment because it's like the whole sequence of the show, and then it's like, oh, I hated that match, and then you go back and watch it by yourself and you're like, oh, it wasn't actually like that bad, or it wasn't as good as I thought it was. So I'm hoping that happens, because that's why everyone wanted it to be Becky and Shayna after. Okay, so we'll get there. So after Survivor Series, they're still kind of putting her and Charlotte as a tag team together against the Kabuki Warriors, who are tag team champions at the time. And of course, now you got all the Charlotte stands like, yo, put their belts on them. Becky, 2 belts.
I like that, Charlotte. That is so
that's what
cute.
Their stands be saying. They be like, Charlotte content, guys. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's cute. Because a lot of people miss.
Right, we'll get some Charlotte in there. If y'all answer the discussion group the question that I posted of your favorite feuds, Charlotte should definitely be in there.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one. But so I can't remember the exact quote, but the TLC match at the TLC pay-per-view with Charlotte and Becky versus the Kabuki Warriors, which I think I will rewatch, was the last WWE pay-per-view match of the decade. And it was the main event, which was really cool. And everybody was comparing it to the women's match that opened in 2010, 10 years ago, and it was like 2 minutes. So a lot of people were celebrating like how far the women's division has come, because, in 2010, you wouldn't think women will be main eventing in a TLC match with tag team championships. And, it was just like, wow, like, we went a long way. But I love the match. And the Kabuki Warriors ended up winning, which I also appreciated. But how did you feel about Charlotte and Becky possibly becoming tag team champions?
I was here for it. I was definitely here for it. I wanted them to continue to, at least work on their friendship, or at least try to give that trust issue. Like, Becky and Charlotte to me is like Rock and Austin, where they try to work on things, and if they didn't come to agreement, then all right, it's gonna go down in some way, shape, way. Lord, I can't even speak because some way, shape, or form. But I can definitely see as I was here for it. I'm definitely here because me, like I'm always for it. I was really for the 4 horsewomen like teaming up in some way and getting Becky and Bayley and Sasha on the same team so that they can, go against Charlotte and not Charlotte, Ronda and the other 3 Ronda, Shane, and the other two. Yeah. So I was here for it. I'm just like, yes, this builds my anticipation, this builds my hype, and WWE, where's my check? But I was here for it, like, and then they would have gave Becky that platform, be Becky 2 belts again.
Yep.
Yeah. And then she really would have, and then she would have been her own Grand Slam champion, although she was never NXT champion. Yeah. She would have been Grand Slam champion on the main roster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me personally, I didn't want to see Becky 2 belts again, only because I love Becky, but when she's Becky 2 belts, she hogs it from other women. Like, so if she's Raw champion and a tag team champion, then what does that do for all the actual tag teams? And then Charlotte definitely doesn't need another fucking championship. So I enjoyed the feud, don't get me wrong, but like I was fine when like they didn't win the championships, because I also love the Kabuki Warriors so much. This is when they were like spitting in people's faces and stuff. Like I love the Kabuki Warriors as champion.
So speaking of spitting in people's faces, I had posted a quote that CM Punk had said in our Facebook discussion group about how it would have been better if once Becky announced that she was pregnant or whatever, and her Asuka hugging her, it would have been even more dope if Asuka has spit in Becky's face like the green mist. How would you have felt about that?
I would have loved that. I would have loved it. Yes, I think it would have been so heelish of Asuka, and Asuka is amazing, and it would have also been unexpected. It's like nobody would expect her to do that, and why not go out with a bang? But I see they're gonna move more with Asuka being kind of like a good guy champion, but I think it would have been dope. I get a kick out of when she does it. I'm like, I love it. Anytime she's alone with somebody, I hope she does it.
I mean, I being that it was. I don't think it was that. I don't think it would have been the right place or time to take that moment away from Becky because of how emotional she was and how real it was for her. Like, we know it's real. Like, Seth Rollins finally posted, thank God. Like, we know it was real, but I don't think that it was the right time for Asuka to take that away from Becky. Like, she's announcing that she has to go for a while. Like, she's announcing that she's pregnant. She's going to be a mother.
On your way?
No. Like, I could see it feels like a part. Because look at how Maria Kanellis did it. Like, when they was about to fight, and Maria was like, "Oh my God, Becky, no, I'm pregnant." And Becky was like,
Well, a punch in the face is different than green mist.
She didn't punch her in the face,
but she was stopping Becky from punching her in the face. She was saying, "No, I'm pregnant."
Nah, I don't think. I feel like it would have been a lot of angry mothers tweeting at Vince McMahon and Stephanie.
If that was to happen, Becky Lynch would have signed off on it, right? So she wouldn't have played it as emotional if that was the plan. You know what I mean? Like, she would have made it work. She wouldn't have made the tone so emotional if that was going to be the case. So I like that it was sweet and emotional, but me preferring heel Asuka and big moments, like unforgettable moments, hell yeah, spray that mist. And we would look back on it. And if Becky, of course, signed off on it, like, yo, remember when Becky relinquished the title to Asuka and she spit the green mist? Like, I'm an Asuka fan and I love that type of shit. So I would have loved it, especially if Becky was down for it. I would thought it was huge.
I don't know, like, even if Becky was down for it, I'd be like, really, bitch? Really?
And that's the reaction we want. I would have loved for Becky Stans to be in their feelings on Twitter if Asuka spit green mist on her face. They're still crying about her leaving. They would have been they probably would have stopped watching wrestling.
Right. Like, what? Becky, what?
That's why that I'm definitely a heel, because I love that type of troll shit. Like, I love all those sides. Like, I like Mandy.
So he said I was the heel and you were the baby face.
No, he definitely said I was the heel and you was half. Because I like trolling people. How are you the heel when you like all the goody shit and I like all the bad shit?
No, he said I was the heel because of my attitude. Like, then he even tweeted, was like, it was when you tweeted how about it was fun about our party. he was like, yeah, and I definitely found out that Miss Krista B is definitely the heel. Like, he tweeted it out after that. I'm definitely the heel. Like, I can have baby face. I can be baby face with heel tendencies.
But see, this is different.
Really, actually, you are like heel. You're definitely a baby face, P. Like, that's no question to me. You're definitely
a baby face to people.
No, you're a tweener. You're a tweener.
But what I like though is that deep down inside I'm a heel because I like all the heel shit. You didn't even like when when Randy Orton attacked Edge, and I loved it. How are you?
I think I don't like because of like me.
Think about who you are inside and the things you don't like and the things that I love.
It takes me back to like when I see stuff like that. It takes me back to the I Quit match between Rock and Mankind. Like literally, and I kid you not, on my parents' grave, it literally, I had nightmares for about a week. Like I couldn't sleep. Like when I slept, or even if I was left in the dark, I saw like the brutality of Mick Foley's face.
That was crazy.
For Edge to attack, for Orton to attack Edge like that, I was like it traumatized me. I'm like, oh my God, so I quit match all over again. Like even when Seth Rollins did to Rey Mysterio this past Monday, it literally took me back. I'm like, all right, that shit not real. Like, literally, I pulled to you. All right, that shit not real.
I like when each other. I like when relationship angles get messed up. I like all of that heel shit. So I mean, if that's what a baby face does, then I mean.
Because I was just like, I hate the relationship angle. Like,
I like any heel angles. Like, I love when like Samoa Joe's coming for AJ's wife. Like,
that I love. That I love.
I don't like that whole like Asuka and Becky crying. Like, now I would.
It was a good moment. It was a good moment.
No, I'm just saying our preferences of I don't know how you're the babyface and I'm the heel deep down inside, because I would have preferred Asuka spitting green mist on her face. That would have been a way more memorable Becky exit for me than the sappy like, oh my God, no, the Asuka I love would have been like, yep, I deserve to be champion. Here's some green mist in your face, and let me see you on your way out.
I don't think Asuka's heel anymore. If Asuka was here, then I'd be like, all right, I get it. But like even when I posted the Shayna Baszler thing about what she said about Becky, everyone was like, "No,
I love that."
I love. And then I had to think about it, and I'm just like, "Oh yeah, she is a heel. I forgot." Like so, it did go. Like,
I'm like, the more brutal, the better. And I'm pretty sure Becky told her to go brutal. So I'm like, yes, Shayna, you're a heel. Do what you make all her stands mad. Like, please.
I'm leading the Becky stand.
I love it.
So that's it. Like, period.
And they're crazy. So I do like too, because in Royal Rumble in 2019, Asuka tapped out Becky and won the SmackDown Championship back. And then WWE never mentioned it because Becky went on to win Royal Rumble, and then she went on to WrestleMania 35. And I was always like,
wait, gotta show the shirt.
Main event, yes. And look at Becky's braid. Her shit is lit too.
Shit is lit. My girl won. I have the video. Sorry if I'm looking like I'm touching my boob, but my girl Becky. All right.
Yo, so then they had another match at Royal Rumble.
Okay, I'm done. Go ahead.
And then I wanted Asuka to win, of course. And then Becky ended up finally beating Asuka at Royal Rumble. So that kind of like ended their feud like in a really, really good way. And then this is when we see Shayna Baszler pop up. And then we see that Charlotte won the Rumble. She chose the NXT Championship. So now it's like, okay, who is Becky facing at WrestleMania? Shayna Baszler. Now, let's talk about this bite. How did you feel when Shayna Baszler popped up on Becky and bit her? I mean, that's like...
I think, where was I at that day? I don't think I was home. I think I was doing something for work before we got quarantined to be home. So I think I was out at an event. And no, I'm lying. I was working, but I had to go something from home. And I remember my boss, Lou, shout out to Lou, High 97 Breaking Lou. I remember him saying, what? So now we're vampires? And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yes.
I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? He was like, Shayna just bit Becky. I'm like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? So I happened to turn, I caught the replay. And I'm like, what is this? Like, who was watching Twilight over the weekend and thought this was okay to write this in?
Yeah, it just seems so random.
And then I saw your tweet, I don't know if it was on Aldo's Wrestling Girls account or your personal account, talk about, okay, so then Becky drives herself back to the arena.
That was
like,
to me, I just felt like that was so
I agree, and I agree with you on that.
Bites a chunk out of your neck, right? You refuse medical assistance. Steal the ambulance, drive yourself to the hospital, drive yourself back from the hospital in the same ambulance. Mind you, that's all this is illegal, mind you. Comes back to Raw, like nothing happens. Like, I was just like, okay, guys, like, I get it. Y'all want to make Becky look strong. Y'all want to make her look like she could do anything. But I was just like, okay, this is getting and this is also during the time where I really started getting over her as champion. And I was just like, all right, now y'all just doing, like, now this is just like, you know, so ridiculous. But then
I felt like they were trying to find a lot of storylines for her to fit, and it just wasn't working.
Or to make it this feud like feel big, but I feel like they be trying too hard on certain occasions, like the Charlotte and Sasha Hell in a Cell, for example. Like the whole beginning, I feel like was just like unnecessary, and I feel like it killed the momentum of the match. In my opinion, I feel like they was trying to do too much. Like the whole stretcher thing, I was just like, just let them have a Hell in a Cell match. That's why I think the Becky and Sasha one was better. Same thing with this Shayna and Becky feud. I think people were saying that Shayna's boring and that people weren't really here for that. So I think they wanted to add as much to that feud to make it like big. And I was like, I don't know, like, I like I don't know, like, maybe I need more time to go by because this was the most recent that's happened that we're talking about. But I don't know, like, something about their feud didn't, like, I wasn't like, last year WrestleMania this time, during the time that we're talking about, we were like all the way here for Charlotte, Ronda, and Becky. We were like every week, like, ooh, what's gonna happen? But this WrestleMania, I wasn't like, ooh, Becky and Shayna. Like, I was more excited for like Charlotte and Rhea, for example. Like, I don't know. I wasn't really.
I just felt like, and this is where your point comes to play as Charlotte being the queen and whatever, because I just felt like because WrestleMania was not what we expected it to be this year, because of COVID and because, you know, they had to minimize and downplay a lot. Mm-hmm. And because maybe, you know, at that time, Becky, I feel like if you look back at that Shayna match, Becky didn't take a lot of hard bumps. Mm. And she didn't take a lot of, you know, shots to the stomach or whatever, because of the fact that she probably already knew that she was pregnant and that, you know, she had to really take care of, like, Becky won because she pinned Sasha on Shayna on her shoulders. Yeah. That was easy to kick out of. Yeah. Like, so she probably already knew that she was pregnant. Mm-hmm. And she probably took her time with the fights and stuff. Yeah. Now, if Becky wasn't pregnant, then I can see, like, she gave her best. I feel like if Becky wasn't pregnant, the belt would have dropped to Shayna, and it would have ended Becky's reign.
I don't even think it had anything to do with the pregnancy. I feel like if it wasn't quarantine, I think a lot of things would have been different. I think they would have wanted
so much.
Like, I feel like Rhea would have retained. I think Shayna would have got a WrestleMania moment, finally beating Becky, and I think it would have been like a WrestleMania to WrestleMania thing with Becky. But I think they just got to be safe with who's champion right now because of it's no crowd. Like, they got to really be like, okay, who's going to really draw people? And it's like, obviously Becky's going to draw. So, you know, let's keep the belt on her, basically. And then she started being a little bit more flamboyant after, you know, with the fur coat and the crown. And so around this time, let's say a month prior to her announcement, you know, the talk on wrestling Twitter is very divided on whether or not Becky's stale, whether or not it's time for her to drop the title. So before the announcement, like, what were your thoughts on Becky as champion? Were you ready for her to drop it to someone? Were you over it? Were you like, let's get another year of Becky as champion? Like, how was you feeling?
To be honest, I don't want another year of Becky. like I said, I was when one and I scream myself a headache. I think I almost blew your eardrum off over the phone. I have the lungs of life. I have the lungs of life. I don't think I wanted another, but I do think I wanted Becky to drop it to somebody who was significant to Raw or like to Raw or SmackDown. Any woman on the roster who felt like who fans wanted it to be on. Like we know we didn't want it to be on Charlotte no more because we was tired of seeing that. We know we didn't want it to be on Sasha. We know we didn't want it to be on Bayley because a lot of people were for the 4 horsewomen versus 4 horsewomen. So even if like somebody like Naomi or Tamina or Nia Jax would, everybody wants to see that Nia Jackson and Becky feud, but being that Nia Jax had blew up both her ACLs, she was gone. So I probably wanted to see it on somebody, even on Asuka. Like Asuka they could have wrote it to where she wanted to redeem herself from losing to Becky, prior to or whatever, and come back. Bianca Belair did an amazing job at Royal Rumble. She could have came and try to challenge her, and even if she would have won, like Paige did with AJ Lee, she was NXT Women's Champion, and then she went on to win Divas Champion.
Yeah,
they could have did it some way like that, but to see Becky for another year as Women's Champion, I'm not.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even be mad if Becky Lynch would have became a part of Seth Rollins' Monday Night Messiah thing.
That would have been interesting. I was ready for I was ready for anything new. Like, I love Becky, don't get me wrong. Like, I love her to death. I was rooting for her for Mania and everything, but I also like to see other women get opportunities. Like, I'm like, okay, we get it, Becky, you're great. And my whole thing with Becky was that she was the underdog. I was like, okay, she's fighting, but then at this point, you're not an underdog anymore. Like, you beat Ronda Rousey, you beat Shayna Baszler,
you're on top of the top.
You've done it all. Like, you won Royal Rumble. So it's like at some point, and then it's obvious that y'all aren't gonna have her lose to certain people. So then also her feuds get boring because it's just like, okay, we all know Becky's gonna win. So why are we here? It kind of got a little dry, and then I'm a huge Asuka fan, and I felt like if there was anyone that could fill, because then at the same time you got to fill Becky's shoes. Those are big ass shoes to fill. So I was like, okay, who's gonna do that? And I always wanted Asuka, so I'm glad that it's Asuka. So I'm glad that we were able to kind of recap Becky's historic title run. I don't think any woman has made as big of an impact as women's champion in WWE as much as Becky. Like, I think she took that shit and just ran with it.
Like, exactly. I completely agree. As I'm a Becky stan, and I'm super happy for her and Seth. And I'm here for, her being a mom, him being a dad, especially being in a relationship that they're in. I can't wait to, take that venture on when it's my turn. And, us here at Those Wrestling Girls, we just wish you all the best of luck.
Really do. Can't wait for you to come back when your music hits.
Come back when your music hits.
My eyes out.
Crying. And we love you, Becky. And, once we start working for WWE, hopefully within this year or so, we're going to send you all the love and stuff in the world. And hopefully you will definitely be on our show. While you're pregnant, you can probably expose your baby bump on our show. But we love you, Becky.
Really
and we hope that you hear this, and we hope that this resonates with you. And I don't have any more to say. What about you?
Because I make fun of Becky stans I make fun of stans because they're insane. But Becky has, and I did another Women in Wrestling episode yesterday where and she was like the third person that I interviewed that said that Becky helped them through like difficult times in their lives, like even before the man character, even before like Evolution and stuff. Like, they were following Becky from like NXT and how her matches in NXT got them back into wrestling. And she's really inspired and touched so many people in so many ways, even before she became a phenomenon. So I really want to like also, and I made fun of like all her stands like crying, but like it's hard for them that Becky's not going to be on TV every week and we don't know when she's coming back. So I do want to send love to all of Becky's fans, because it's one of those things where you don't know what you have until it's gone. And I'm like, oh my God, Becky. But I'm watching a couple months, I'm going to be like, Where's Becky?
I'm gonna be like, no, sis, don't sit here and act like you miss Becky now. Just like I did with her and Roman Reigns, y'all. I checked her. Don't worry about it.
I am gonna miss her. I enjoyed her on TV. I was just ready for her to drop that belt.
Yeah, I was ready for her to drop the belt.
I was like, I love Becky on TV. I'm gonna miss it tremendously, but I'm glad that she's
so glad that I was able to pick my goddaughter to see her, you know,
yeah.
or whatever. And I was telling her, and you know, that's the champion, whatever. She's like, okay, you know. So I was glad I was able to take my goddaughter to see that.
That's good. And Becky and also we talked to somebody yesterday as well who just started watching wrestling in the last 2 years. And one of the things that kept her watching was discovering Becky randomly on TV. So she brought new fans into wrestling too during this run. So kudos to you, Becky. Like, you elevated the division in so many ways. I don't think anyone could have even imagined what you would do with you exceeded everyone's expectations. So thanks, Boo.
And on that note, congratulations again, Becky. But on that note, it's your girl, Krista B.
And Queen P.R.
And we are out.